meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on the bulletin board of the county superintendent's office on July 30th, 2020, and notice as provided to the Home News and Tribune on July 20th, 2020.
Thank you, Pat. Roll call, please.
Bergen, Belleville, Carteret, Clementon,
Here.
Cranberry,
Here.
Denellen, East Brunswick,
Here.
Edison,
Here.
Highland Park,
Here.
Jackson, Jamesburg,
Amesburg's here.
Metuchen,
Here.
Middlesex,
Here.
Milltown,
Here.
Millville,
Here.
Monroe,
Here.
New Brunswick,
Here.
North Brunswick, Old Bridge,
Here.
Perth Amboy,
Here.
Piscataway, Robbinsville,
Here.
Saraville,
Here.
Somerset Hills,
Here.
South Amboy,
Here.
South Brunswick,
Here.
South Plainfield, South River, Spotswood, Woodbridge,
Here.
Vocational.
Here.
Okay, we have a
Pat
quorum.
Denellen is here as well. Just got in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, Carteret is here as well.
Thank you.
Great. Great.
Thank you, Pat. Again, welcome. As always, we will accept the minutes with the other resolutions. And before we begin, we have two new board members, Dr. Bregan, the superintendent at Edison. Bernard, welcome. Did you want to say anything?
I'm just happy to be here, and I don't want to bore you with my history, but I started my educational career at the Middlesex Ed Services Commission at the Central Valley School in 1986 in Saraville.
Wow. Wow. Come full circle. So
Full circle.
Excellent. Well, welcome. Also, Mr. Glassberg from the President Metuchen Board. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the meeting.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. It's a great group of people, and you'll see that the team does an amazing job. So with that, Mark, I want to turn it over to you to present our presenters.
Great. Thanks, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Obviously, as always, we appreciate your support in joining us today, and to echo our president's comments, we wish each of you and your families a happier and a healthier new year. The title of our staff presentation today, which is listed under Commission Business on page 2 of our agenda, is Building a Bright Future When the School Bus Stops Coming. So at this time, Mrs. Pasupathy will be introducing our guest presenter, Mrs. Pasupathy. Good morning.
Morning, Mark. So good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Today's presentation is by Ms. Allison Sanchez, Executive Director of ESCNJ's Adult Community Services Program. Many parents of students with disabilities fear the day the child will graduate from the school system when that school bus stops coming when the student turns 21. There are many blog posts and news articles written about parents facing uncertainty regarding the child's future, feeling as if the child is almost falling off a cliff or dropping off the face of the earth when they reach adulthood. Here's a short passage from one of those articles I read. I just want to share that with you. But I know and have known all along that Noah will circle right back to home to the reclining chair he spends hours in after school, looking at pictures on Google Images or silly videos on YouTube. I'm desperate to make sure that that chair doesn't become his world and that mornings don't bleed into afternoons and afternoons into evenings with little to fill in the blank spaces. I'm afraid that every school bus that passes by next year will feel like a rebuke, like a slap. So this was by a parent of a child with disabilities. Although there are day habilitation programs for adults with disabilities throughout the state, there's a gap. There's not sufficient number of such programs to meet the demand. So the leadership team at ESCNJ has fully recognized this gap and the plight of the parents, especially those of students graduating from commission programs. They've long sought to open a program for adults with disabilities that will serve the needs of ESCNJ graduates, as well as others in the surrounding communities. The board will recall that creating such programs for post-21 adults is one of the goals outlined in the Commission's 5-year strategic plan, the outcome of which is the Adult Community Services Program. So in today's presentation, Ms. Sanchez will discuss the program's mission and how they have set out to achieve it by implementing a person-centered program that can help ease some of the concerns of families of adults with disabilities. Here's Ms. Allison Sanchez.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Mina. I am so thrilled to be here today to speak to you today about adult community services. As we turn and open to the next slide, I'd like to take this moment, if you want to go to the next slide, to share just who ACS is. Adult Community Services is a DDD Medicaid provider that provides a place and opportunity for individuals 21 and over to learn various life skills, social and emotional skills, pre-vocational skills, and community inclusion. We provide our participants opportunities and hands-on experiences to apply in their real-world settings, which may be at work, in their home, or in their community. As we move on to the next slide, I want to share one of the most important things I wanted to, along with my team, focus on is really putting in place a solid vision, mission, and values that encompassed our years of experience in this field and put in place a program that really defined a person-centered program. Therefore, our vision is striving towards independence. Our mission is providing access to options, assistance, and opportunities to develop skills to achieve that independence. And finally, our values include being a person-first program, providing meaningful engagements, an opportunity for growth, of course, patience, and again, being involved in your community. Before we move on with the program, as we move on to the next slide, before you have a timeline that contains certain milestones a student should be working towards and addressing through those years. You'll see age 21 and over is where adult community services comes into play. By 21, the education services a student is entitled to ends, and an individual can receive services through the Division of Developmental Disabilities. It's at this point they have an opportunity to meet programs such as ours, as well as an opportunity for providers such as us to get to know the student and to get support and feedback from former teachers and other providers. It's important to note that the individualized education plan does not follow the student, and therefore it's so critical to be able to build these relationships and seek this support from former students, former teachers. I'd like to introduce you to Omar as we move to the next slide. Omar is a recent Center for Lifelong Learning graduate. He currently lives in New Brunswick with his family, and he joined our program this past July. He's being interviewed by our direct care manager, Shalise Jenkins. So let's take a listen.
But what made you feel comfortable after a while? Because after a while you started talking, you were, you're like our star chef, you're encouraging other students and participants. What made you feel more comfortable here at ACS?
It was the staff and the people that I've met.
Nice.
Definitely.
Okay. So what are your, we do a lot. I'm sorry, Mom, go ahead.
I said I could second that because I could tell that you guys made him feel comfortable. That's why he was able to transition as best as he could. Because normally he doesn't adapt to things that fast. And
Right.
It takes him a while to get used to people, things, or even places. He always has a hard time adjusting to new things. And then having to do it under a pandemic, I think he did fantastic. You guys did amazing. And I see in just this little bit of time, a lot of growth in him.
Yes, that was a major difference too for all of us. There was the pandemic happening. We went from being in person to virtual to in person to virtual. And I think we did in person one more time and then finally now we're virtual again. So Omar,
Yeah.
how do you like the virtual groups that we have? What are your favorite things to do?
The Come Explore is one of my favorite things to do. The Let's Eat.
He likes cooking, even though he gets nervous. He likes cooking. He likes to, try different things.
Yeah, we can tell that you like cooking, Omar. And if you believe it or not, we noticed from the beginning, if you remember the very first cooking session, what were we making? Do you remember what we were making?
What was the first thing? Wasn't it the cheesecake?
I think it was the little cheesecakes, the mini cheesecakes. I think.
The mini cheesecakes. And you had to get off of the camera and I had to call you. And remember we talked? But now, Omar, what do you do when we get on?
Stay the whole day.
Stay the whole day. Yes, right? Mom?
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to talk a little bit with you as far as, because I think sometimes what happens is that we tend to focus on the children that are now young adults and their transition. But what was the transition like for you to have your child, all you know is school, and now it's like the bus stops coming. So what happened and what was it like for you when the bus stopped coming?
Well, I always get excited when he starts new adventures and tries to do new things because we always try to push for him to be independent. And that was one of the things that we always wanted. And sometimes he likes to cling. And, as a mom, it's kind of hard to kind of like push, but you still, do it anyhow. I think he's doing really well. So it made it easier for me to kind of accept that, he's getting older and he's going to be doing new things and trying new things and doing things on his own, right?
Right.
So that was Omar. And before we move on, I can, or I can just say now, I can speak to the fact that Omar has made so much progress. Early on when he was nervous about the transition, Shalise and I would get on a couple Zooms just to help reassure him because again, given the fact that there was a pandemic, just added to the already difficult transition, and he's doing beautifully. So as we are on this slide now, I'd really like to take an opportunity to share with you the last year that ACS has had. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary. I'm very happy to share that. So you'll see from our timeline here, we did open last January with 3 participants. And as we moved through the first several weeks, we were able to open our doors, have our participants start contributing to groups and working on their goals and outcomes. Unfortunately, ACS did need to close in March due to COVID, but that did not, we did not lose a step, and we immediately created a website for our participants to turn to. We initiated on our own the start of Zoom groups in April. And as we continued through the summer, that's what we did while also building our census. Come July, DDD gave the okay to accept new participants. So again, we continue to grow our census. And we returned to in-person programming in September, where again, our census was at 13. Unfortunately, we did have to go back to virtual right before Thanksgiving, which is where we are right now. So I'd like to share a little bit more on the focus of what ACS is about. So as we go to the next slide, please, the first area is on day hab. And the activities that surround day habilitation really focus on the transition to helping any individual, whether they're a new graduate or they're in their mid-20s, transition to more independence, transition to adulthood. And that's focusing on areas such as life skills, which may include money management, hygiene, time management, of course, understanding more about chores and what they can do around their own home, meal planning, understanding what it takes to make a meal, understanding what things they enjoy doing, understanding what they may like to do if they're not feeling so good that day, helping them identify coping skills and activities that can bring their spirits up, learning how to socialize among each other as well as with other people within the community. And finally, community integration. And of course, especially in this last year, it was about bringing the community into us as well. So now I'd like us to take a look into one of our virtual groups as we move to the next slide. This group is being facilitated by Ms. Tashura Tyson, one of our direct care professionals. And if I can just speak for a moment about one positive that has come out of COVID, is the opportunity to be able to be invited into our participants' home. In a traditional day program, you don't normally get that, you don't get that opportunity. You practice the skills on site or in the community, but you're never in the own home. So that was a really remarkable opportunity for us because we were able to actually see the application in their own home. And for some, it transpired into this beautiful, consistent thing. And so I'd like for us to share this. In this activity, they are learning how to clean a microwave. So let's take a look.
And see a microwave. All right, so you're gonna spray inside your microwave, take the plate out. Take the plate out and you're gonna spray the microwave and you guys gonna start wiping and cleaning.
All right, stop wipe.
You use paper towel, sponge, or a cloth.
Right.
And make sure when you wipe, you're wiping a circular. You want to make sure you get on the bottom, all on the top, all on the sides of the microwave, and even in the edge by the door.
Get that looking. Get that looking.
Good job now, Penelope. I see you wiping all the inside. Now don't forget to get on the outside part of the edge where the door is.
See the top over there?
One anecdote I'd like to also share is regarding one of our other participants, Ariel, who is actually an Academy Learning Center graduate. He lives in Edison and he participates in these groups as well. And his mother shared after the previous week where we were teaching them how to vacuum in their homes, she discovered him in his bedroom vacuuming, initiated all by himself because he realized he enjoyed doing it. And so it's beautiful to share these stories with you because it's lovely that the progress and what our participants have been able to do. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Ashley, who is being interviewed again by our direct care manager, Shalise. Ashley is 23 years old. She lives in Middlesex. And she has been a part of our program since the beginning, participating in person, virtual, returning in person, and now again virtual. So she's going to share her experience regarding day hab.
Going ACS so far?
Yeah.
What do you, when we get back in person, which is not yet, what do you want to do or what are you most looking forward to when you come back in this building?
People, yeah, guys, and my friends, and working with you guys, and having lunch.
Yeah, lunch is always fun, right? Because what do we do at lunch besides eat?
Zumba,
Mm-hmm.
dance, and having fun watching them make projects on the big screen with paint and markers, everything.
Oh, Ashley, we can't wait for you to come back as well.
So that was Ashley, and I will reiterate, Shalise, we can't wait to have her back. We really miss all of our participants. I want to now transition to the other main focus of ACS as we move to the next slide, which is on pre-vocational training. And that really encompasses a wide range of activities to introduce a participant to work or skills and tasks that can help lead them to competitive employment. It's also depending on their experience. Of course, coming from a commissioned school, they come with, you know, a wealth of experience and information, but it's meeting the participant where we need to in order to help them continue to build those skills. And that's done on an individual basis or in a group setting. It starts as simply just exploring their own interests. If they have no experience, we want to make sure they have an opportunity to express what they might want to do and afford them that opportunity to practice that. It's also understanding what it means to work and what it means to get a job, whether from the beginning of writing a resume to knowing what an interview is and what to speak about during that, how to dress, as well as once you get onto the job, how to interact with your fellow peers and coworkers, how to speak to a supervisor or coworker if you're having an issue. And it's also providing those hands-on activities again, the job sampling, building the relationships within the community to provide our participants the opportunity to practice in a real-world setting these tasks and skills. So we're going to now jump into a pre-vocational group as we move to the next slide. And you'll see this is Mr. Robert Slater. He is our transitions coordinator. And the focus on this group is talking about priorities and prioritizing. So here we go.
Prioritize. So do you guys kind of get what that word is when you put the most important thing first that you have to do? If your boss gives you 3 things to do and tells you that one of them is most important to do, are you going to do the other stuff first, or are you going to do what your boss said was most important?
What your boss said that's important to do.
Exactly, because that means that must have been the most important thing to do. So your priority is to get that one done and then move on to the other things. What do you think about that, Roger?
Yeah, good.
If you're driving that semi that you want to drive and you have all these things on there, some people want their stuff at 3 o'clock. Others, you know, you can wait to get them.
Yeah.
Now it's 2:30. You have your truck loaded with stuff, and the most important person says they need it at 3. Do you go to the other places, or do you take care of the person at 3 o'clock?
Take care of the
3 o'clock.
Take care of the person. So what did you just do right there?
Driving local.
It begins with the word letter P.
Priority.
Yes, close. Prioritize. It's a tongue twister. Yes, prioritize.
You know, before we move on to Sorab, you know, one of the things that is so critical when we are working with our participants is engaging them in their own interests. So in that example, you saw Robert engaging with Roger because he knows he wants to drive that big rig. And that's really what a lot of what ACS is about, is understanding what the person wants out of the program, their interests. That's what being person-centered is, part of it. Really getting to know the individual so that we can best help them progress and meet their goals. So I'd like to now introduce you to Sorab as we move to the next slide, who again is being interviewed by Mr. Slater. Sorab is also 23 years old. He lives in Edison, and he's been with us since the beginning as well. He also works part-time at Popcorn for the People. So here, he and Mr. Slater are discussing his experience with Prevoke.
So you've been at ACS for some time now, right? Since our beginning, since we opened.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the topics you've learned regarding employment?
Time management,
Okay.
resume, safety,
So
work
time management and safety.
work safety, time management.
So which one of those do you like the best? Which like lesson do you feel helped you the
Work
most?
safety.
Safety. Now, have you been able to use any of those topics you learned at Popcorn for the People?
Time management and the supervisor. Be on task.
Being on task. So you work with Rachel with that or someone else there?
Rachel.
All right, so now I want to transition to talking about ACS's future. And as we move to the next slide, I'm very proud that we have been able to grow our program given the past year. But now it's time to grow our program. And the way we're doing that is by working with Jaffe Marketing to expand our network to reach those families. And in fact, today, this morning, we'll be launching a marketing video to do just that, boosting it across many miles to reach those interested families. And I can happily provide you with more information after the presentation. We're also working on providing more open houses and participating in community events. In fact, we're also planning an open house for this March. Of course, we continue to work closely with the commission schools and their graduates, and of course, partner with surrounding districts such as yours. It's important to note, and Mina mentioned, while we are an option for the commission students, most certainly, we're also open to all other students as well to be able to provide a place for these individuals to continue to grow. As we move on to the next slide, ACS currently serves individuals who are verbal, do not need assistance with their personal care needs, and are ambulatory. When I came to the commission and speaking with the principals, families, and of course, bringing my experience with me, it was evident that there were not many options for individuals who weren't ambulatory, who were non-ambulatory, non-verbal, and did need assistance with personal care needs. Therefore, it became one of my priorities to be able to include individuals with higher needs at ACS. And I'm proud to share that we are now accepting individuals with these higher needs because we've been adapting our program, outfitting our workspaces, and providing our staff the training necessary. I'm happy to share that when we are able to return for in-person programming, we have one such individual who will be in that cohort. And finally, as we move on to the last slide, we're expanding our advisory board. We're making sure that all voices are at the table and to be heard because these voices represent the community, and the community is where our participants are a part of and involved with. So it's ever so important to be sure that we have many voices there to be able to address all the goals and objectives of ACS. And with that, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for this opportunity as we move to the final slide. I get giddy being able to talk about all that I've been able to help be a part of this past year and a half. It's been a pleasure, and I 100% look forward to where we're going in the future. If you do want copies of my slides, I'm happy to make sure that we get those to you. And of course, if you have any questions, now is the time. I'm happy to answer any. Thank you so much.
Well, Allison, thank you so much for that wonderful, wonderful presentation. The newer board members may not know that ACS in many ways is like the final piece to the commission puzzle that, I've been involved for 20 years and, the staff much longer, but we've served so many young people, and it was always a good and bad day on graduation. What do they do next? And so this is planned for, Mark, how many years? 25 years we've planned to put this together, and then we get it going, and then there's a pandemic. But Allison, you've done a wonderful job. And any questions? Any questions? This is just an amazing program that's going to only get better.
Thank you.
Any questions? Great. If not, thank you so very much, and let the staff know we love what you do, and we know that it's been tough, but good days are ahead.
Yes,
so thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Enjoy your weekend.
Yes, enjoy your weekend.
Take care.
Virtual clap, virtual clap.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, Mark, we'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. President. And thanks to Mrs. Sanchez, Mrs. Pasupathy, the staff members at ACS, and the students, of course, that were on the video today. You know, this is a program that is a jewel and was always intended by the board to address the needs of special needs students who are adults and within the Central Jersey region. And, you know, it took so long, as Dr. Caldwell indicated, to get this program underway, and everything was in place. Programs opened January 29th and closes less than 2 months later for on-site instruction, and then reopens and then has to close again. So despite all that, one of the positives, as Mrs. Sanchez indicated, is that we've had ample opportunity to increase the level of services, particularly for more severe special needs students and adults. So that's our goal. A lot of this is marketing, and we know that. We're starting, following this meeting today, with a very aggressive marketing campaign with Jaffe Communications, which the board will hear more about. But most importantly, this is about the adults in that program. They always remind all of us why we do what we do. Of the 4 students in that video, 2 of them came up through commission programs. So it's very personal with all of the adults, but in particular for those students that have been with us for a prolonged period of time. So we just want the board to be aware that we are reopening. We have plenty of space for adults here on the Piscataway campus. And finally, I know this question comes up often, there is no age limitation for the ACS program. And that's one of the reasons that the program stands out from others. In other programs, there is an age limitation. We do not have one, and that's intentional. We want families to know that once their adult children are placed with us, they will have a place to go to for the rest of their lives. So thanks again to all concerned. Great job, great job. Okay, and thanks again, Mr. President. And again, welcome to Dr. Reagan, Mr. Glassberg. This is their first meeting. Always want to make mention of the fact that they took the time to participate in our new board member orientation. Both of them have very difficult schedules, so we appreciated their doing so, and welcome. Look, all of us here at the commission and on the call today continue to work, as do you, under the most unprecedented and difficult of circumstances that any of us could have ever imagined. And please know that our concern continues for each of you, your students, your staff members, your community members. Here at the commission, we had to close our central offices for a period of time due to a COVID outbreak. And while we have reopened the offices, we're monitoring the situation very carefully and are making testing available for all staff members who are interested. Because of that outbreak, we got delayed a bit in terms of our reentry plan. We had to change the reentry date for our staff members, which took place this past Tuesday on January 19th. And all students are scheduled to return this coming Monday, January 25th. We really have to tell you on the call how appreciative we are to the superintendents, to the board members for keeping us in the loop with regard to your reentry plans and other activities that have taken place. So much of what we do is predicated upon the information we receive from our constituent districts. So thank you very, very much for your continued support and information. At our Finance Committee meeting this past Tuesday, I was sharing with Doctors Taylor and Roman how over the past 9 months, I've really had an opportunity to observe and assess the behavior, the attendance of our central office employees. We've talked in the past about how it's interesting to observe people's behavior patterns during a time of crisis. And, I just never really had the time to do so before, but this really allowed for that. And it was an eye-opener, and I'm sure all of you can attest to that with your respective staffs as well. Some good, some not so good, but I'd rather concentrate on the good. Board members, I just have to tell you, you have some extraordinary people working in this board office. And I just want to give you some examples, if I may. With our central office leadership team, one of the members has an adult special needs daughter. Another member of COLT has a long-standing pre-existing medical condition. Yet another administrative assistant qualified for senior citizen status many, many years ago. And yet another administrative assistant has been working around her husband's weekly chemotherapy sessions. These are people of character and integrity. They're here every day. In fact, they're the first ones in, they're the last ones to leave. They could have easily qualified for a workplace accommodation had they requested it, but they didn't. They're not built that way. These are people that put the needs of the board and the organization and their colleagues ahead of their own interests. So by doing so, they really allowed us to maintain our level of excellence. So I wanted to recognize individuals, and there are others, who have earned our respect and admiration. And I know the board is as proud of these types of individuals as I am. But it really, really needs to be said because you have to recognize the shining lights, and we have them. So thank you for indulging me on that. As a follow-up to our earlier presentation from Mrs. Sanchez, we're obviously very pleased to share with the board that Mrs. Maroney, our former representative from the Edison Board of Education, is going to be joining the Commission's Adult Community Services Board, which will next be meeting on February 10th. It was great to hear from Mrs. Maroney, and I know she'll be a major contributor. I mentioned the last Finance Committee meeting, appreciated Doctors Taylor and Roman taking the time to join us. The next meeting of the Finance Committee will be taking place on February 16th. And we also wanted to remind the board that we will be remaining virtual for our future meetings until such time as it's no longer necessary. And very much would like to thank Executive County Superintendent Anderson for his cooperation on this. His roundtable meetings are going to remain virtual to coincide with ours. So that helps us out tremendously. Moving back now, if I may, to the regular agenda on page 1 within our non-public department, we are recommending approval for 2 Title I professional development programs for staff members who work with students who reside within the Jackson Public School District. Our Director of Non-Public Schools, Mrs. Anderson, hosted a meeting of the directors of non-public schools from all of the educational services commissions and special services school districts back on January 5th. Turning to our special education programs, at the Piscataway Regional Day School, our enrollment remained the same at 104 students. Last Wednesday, the Piscataway Regional Day School, all the students participated in a virtual celebration of the life of Dr. King. In Monroe, at the Academy Learning Center, their enrollment remained the same at 120 students. Next Thursday, the school is having an in-service program for certificated staff members on how to write effective goals and objectives within individual educational plans. In Sorab, at the Academy Learning Center, slight increase at CLL. Their enrollment now stands at 179 students. They will be having a parent workshop shortly on an extremely important topic, that being effective estate planning. Back here in Piscataway, at the Bright Beginnings Learning Center, that population and enrollment continues to increase. We're at 117 students now. They have a lot of activities planned within the next month, from National Bean Day to observing Dr. King's birthday, and next Friday, they're going to be an active participant in the National Puzzle Day, which has really caught the interest of the students and staff members. At the Future Foundations Academy, again, the slight increase in student enrollment. We're at 98 students there, and they participate in a great many virtual field trips. The most recent one called the Mission to Mars Challenge. Very innovative. Staying in Piscataway, New View Academy, the board will note that the New View Academy enrollment continues to rise very slightly, but it's going in a positive direction. The school has begun a month-long observance of Black history. The board is going to hear a presentation next month from its principal, Mr. Hudson, who started on July 1st. We're very, very pleased with the positive direction the school has gone in under his administration. So we really look forward to introducing him to you. He's going to be touching on a number of different items, including the Day of Dialogue experience. Pathways to Adult Living program, the PAL program, has an enrollment that remains at 8. On Monday, the students will be interviewing a gentleman by the name of Mark Moskowitz. Mr. Moskowitz is a quality control manager. Why is that important for our students? Well, our students are in the work world now, and they need to know what the expectations are. And Mrs. Pruss and the staff are trying to expose them to people that they can ask questions of in anticipation of their work experience. Great program. And we heard earlier about the Adult Community Services program. The enrollment stands at 13. I mentioned the anniversary date of January 29th. The only other item that I wanted to mention on that program is the fact that the board will recall that is a program that is overseen not by the commission board, but by the Department of Developmental Disabilities. So we cannot make the decision as to when they will be reopening for on-site instruction. That's a DDD decision, which we hope will come in the near future. So in summary, positive news, despite the fact that we have remained remote, our enrollment since our last board meeting increased by a total of 8 students, which is a real tribute to our staff, and we thank so many of you for continuing to remain to take action in the best interest of your students. Mr. President, if I may move on to commission business. Item number 2 is School Board Recognition Month. Everybody is aware that in the state of New Jersey, January has been designated School Board Recognition Month. We hope that everybody received their certificates in preparation for our board meeting today. I know this is something that I say every year, but the reality is that each of you performs double duty, both in your home district as well as here at the commission. And we know how you extend yourselves on behalf of our students and our staff members. And we really, really appreciate the amount of time you put in preparing for our board meetings, attending the meetings, which is a real struggle with your schedules, and we're sensitive to that. But in addition to committee meetings, graduations, Read Across America, just a host of other activities that you're already doing in your own districts, and you're doing it again for us. So, I really have to state how grateful we are to the state legislature for recognizing the importance of school boardsmanship. And this month, every year, provides us with the opportunity to thank each of you, to recognize your civic-minded activities on behalf of others. So on behalf of the entire central office leadership team, congratulations and heartfelt thanks to each of you. Wonderful, wonderful. Moving on to item number 3. Item number 3 is a recommendation for the approval of an advisory board member from Rutgers University to provide our board of directors with counsel and advice, particularly within the areas that are covered within resolution number 5. This is an annual recommendation, and the really great news is that Dr. Verona has enthusiastically embraced her role with us over the years, and as a result, it's really solidified our relationship with the state university. Mr. President, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Mark, thank you once again for that wonderful report, and thanks for your certificate, and we do appreciate that. Pat, the finance report.
Good morning, everybody. Well, as always, I'll start with cooperative transportation, which you can only imagine in this current environment is an adventure, to say the least. But we continue to add mostly private school students. We continue working with our major public schools on transportation, but we're dealing with date changes and time changes and trying to accommodate as we can. But you got to give a lot of kudos to that staff just to keep up with all the requests and the changes that are going on. So we are continuing in a crazy world for transportation right now. Finance Committee meeting met on Tuesday. Board Secretary's bill lists, nothing unusual in the bill list or Secretary's report, unless there's any questions from the board regarding that. Excuse me. Approval of expenses, I think we had 5 or 6 this month, nothing of any substance. The biggest one I think was for PECs. We have the approval of the professional services contracts for occupational and physical therapy for next year. We're looking at a 1.8% increase in those rates. So I think that's the lowest we've seen in quite a while. So we are making that recommendation. We are making a recommendation, the authorization to renew our membership with Eric North and the New Jersey Schools Insurance Group. Proved to be very beneficial to us over the years with the insurance group, and Eric North has certainly proved to be beneficial with the grants we've received and our interaction with our districts. We have the application for school security grant funds. Rare that we actually get included in one of these things to get grant funds. So we are looking to do certain upgrades regarding Alyssa's law and approve that grant. The amendment to the school bus bid has been ongoing with us. We had two body, basically it's two body types that we interpreted to be identical from two different vendors on the same chassis. So our initial feeling was that it would not be appropriate to award both bodies or both vehicles because they're identical. After further review and further conversation with the body companies, we have determined that there are differences in those bodies. So we are making a recommendation to add that additional body type to the school bus bid. We have new bids for tires and tire repairs. Modular buildings, we've had a lot of requests for modular buildings, both for purchase and rental. So we are pleased to make that recommendation today. We have recommendation on, which is again a new bid, tree trimming and removal services. We are recommending the award of the roofing and envelope and services bid. This will be an AEPA bid with our national group we work with. This has been a very productive contract. It's rare a day goes by that I don't get an email or two of districts or towns that have issued contracts underneath the roofing contract. We have the award again, an AEPA award for printers, documents, equipment. We have the approval of the extension of the grounds equipment bid. We have the approval of extensions of additional bids on this award, which include LED lighting, Ardex concrete repair systems, wireless duress monitoring, digital resource instructional materials, commercial buses, digital display solutions, synthetic turf, maintenance, repair and replacement, facility management software, and provisions of job order contracting services. And then we have the approval of the food service bill list, which we do twice a year at the request of the auditors. So unless there are any questions, that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Pat. As always, a very, very thorough report. If there are not any questions, we'll move on to Ms. Romano, the personnel report, please.
Good morning. Personnel is enclosure V in your board packet, and I ask that the board approve the action items listed in the enclosure.
Are there any questions about the personnel report? Okay. Now we are going to take a motion for the resolutions and minutes. And because there's so many people, if you could state your name and district when you make a motion. So is there a motion to accept the resolutions in the minutes?
Victor Valesky, East Brunswick, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
South Amboy.
Second?
South Amboy, thank you.
Thank you very much. Roll call, Pat.
Bergen, Belleville, Carteret,
Yes.
Flemington,
Yes.
Granbury,
Yes.
Denellen,
Yes.
East Brunswick,
Yes.
Edison,
Yes.
Highland Park,
Yes.
Jackson, Jamesburg,
Yes.
Metuchen,
Yes.
Middlesex,
Yes.
Milltown,
Yes.
Millville,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
New Brunswick,
Yes.
North Brunswick,
Yes.
Old Bridge,
Yes.
Perth Amboy,
Yes.
Piscataway, Robbinsville, Sayreville,
Yes.
Somerset Hills,
Yes.
South Amboy,
Yes.
South Brunswick,
Yes.
South Plainfield, South River, Spotswood,
Yes.
Woodbridge,
Yes.
Vocational.
Yes.
Excellent. It's passed.
And
The next-
abstentions,
I wanna remind
Mr.
everybody-
President, abstentions are noted for Edison and Metuchen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Our next meeting will be February 19th at 8:30 a.m., as I always say, in your living room. It'll be a virtual representative assembly, and what that means, it's the meeting to approve the budget. So that'll be our next meeting. I understand we may have one person who registered who's here. Mark, do we have someone registered for public comments?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, good. So as always, I'll read the public comments statement, and then we will take the public comments. Section 0164.6 of the board bylaws governs public participation at board meetings. Pursuant to the provisions of the bylaws, the following protocols will be observed. Only those individuals who registered at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting with the secretary of the board will be called upon to address the board. A staff member will announce your name in the order in which you registered and unmute you. Please be sure your name appears on Zoom and matches the name you used to register. Preface your comments by announcing your name, municipality of residence, and group affiliation. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Please direct any comments to me and send any questions that you have to the ESC&J in writing. A staff member will announce when 30 seconds of your time is remaining, and again when your 3 minutes are up. You will be muted at the end of your comments or after 3 minutes. So Mark, who do we have speaking today?
Mr. Britz?
Charlie Cradaville.
Hi, Charlie. Your municipality and residence and group affiliation?
Yes, sir. Charlie Cradaville. I live here in New Brunswick, and I'm the editor of New Brunswick Today. I don't need the full 3 minutes. I did want to start by just saying thank you to all the staff who is working in this difficult time. I did have a single question. I just wanted to confirm that the superintendent, Mr. Finkelstein, is paid by the ESC&J, and if I could get the salary figure.
Charlie, thanks for coming. As I said, please send it the request in writing, and it's a public information, and you'll be responded to.
Who should I send it to?
To Mark Finkelstein. Just send it to the main office.
Okay, I'll send it to him. The only reason I ask is because at the county college board meeting, John Hoffman said, quote, he's not paid anything. And I said, are you sure he's not paid by the ESC&J? And he said, quote, no, I'm not sure where he's paid by. So it doesn't seem to be correct, but I'm just trying to check that statement. And so I'll follow up via email. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you, Charlie. Happy New Year. Have a good day. Great. If there is no one else signed up for public comments, which I don't think there is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Okay. Now name, location, who was that?
Motion was Brian Sikowski, North Brunswick.
Perfect. Okay, and second?
From Jorge Diaz, South Amboy.
Hey, Jorge. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Have a great weekend, everybody. And let's get this new year off on the right foot. So thank
Thanks
you all.
a lot, everybody. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Take